The blessing of pain. Pain is not always a negative force, and it is not something that you should always hate. At times, pain benefits you in many ways. You might remember that perhaps the last time you felt some very serious pain, you remembered Allah, you supplicated to Allah, you prayed to Allah, and you asked for His guidance and forgiveness. And indeed, Allah guided you. Pain is a necessary part of our lives. It is something that must happen to every single human being. Allah said in the Quran, وَلْنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. A lot of the times you might feel some pain when you have to lose your loved one, or maybe your wealth, or maybe parts, or you're going to make certain huge losses, or something of that nature. It's part of what has been destined for everyone. You might remember also that as a student, you have to endure difficult pain. You have to pass through some very serious pain in order to graduate. Imagine the thought of having to wake up every morning or attending classes every afternoon and evening, having to read every night, waking up at night and reading all your books and having to study for exam. These are some of the pain that you have to feel, or that you have to pass through, that you have to endure. But at the end of this whole process, you will graduate and then become a scholar. This is one of the blessings of pain. And when you feel pain and you endure those pain, at the end of the whole process, you will realize that you have benefited from this pain. And Allah knows best. But pain is a necessary part of us. It's something that must happen to all of us. It's something that we must feel. Every human being must feel pain at a certain point in time. Perhaps it could be the pain of having to lose a loved one, maybe the pain of having to pass through divorce, or maybe a breakup, or maybe losing your job, or losing any of your something that is very critical, something that is very important in your life. But pain is necessary. Think about a poet who have to pass through, or who endured some very difficulty, has to pass through some pain. And the first experience that he had, because of those, he was able to sit down and write some very, fluent poetry. Until today, a lot of people are still benefiting from that. But compare that again with a poet who hasn't felt any pain before, who haven't endured any pain before, or passed through some very difficulty, some very serious difficulty, and he is trying to pen down some things. The fluency or the level of communication, it will not be the level of understanding will not be as much as the one who had to pass through this pain. Similar to the student who enjoyed the life of affluence, who was enjoying his life, who didn't pass through any pain, who wasn't taking his studies very serious. At the end of the whole process, the one who endured some pain will likely have a better result than the one who didn't at all. And same apply if you want to go further into the examples, you might look at the life of the early Sahabas, those who believed in Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the kind of difficulty they had to pass through, the thought of having been, a lot of them being persecuted. A lot of them were persecuted. Some were killed. Some were jailed. Some were tortured. Some were deprived of their home. Some were forcefully separated with the families. Some had to, in fact, some were even forcefully evicted from their houses. Some were even sent into exile. These are some of the challenges that they passed through. But comparing that with the amount of belief that their belief in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, their belief in Allah is stronger. Their belief in Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and trust with the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was, of course, much stronger than ours. Then after that comes those that came before after them, after their own belief, after these people, because of the first hand experience they had with the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, after them then come those that came after the Sahabas, that is the Tabi'un, then the Tabi'un, and then the list goes on and on. So you remember, even Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had to pass through some difficulty. He has to pass through some pain. The pain of the death of his children, and the loss of his companions, the hunger, starvation, and all of that. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also had those first-hand experience. So pain is not always a negative force, and it is not something that we should always hate. Sometimes pain makes us grow, it makes us stronger, it makes us who we are today. And at the end of everything, Allah will reward you for the pain that you passed through or that you felt. And if you're patient enough, even in this dunya, there is going to be a very huge reward for you. Imagine, if you come down to even this century, there are people who had to pass through a lot of things. Some people had to lose their children, some have to their loved one, and at the end of it, some were even sent to prison, but they came out victorious, and the society had to celebrate them. Among these people, we have Nelson Mandela. So pain again is, pain is a process, is something that we all have to feel. If you must grow, you must have felt certain kind of pain, if you are successful today. And if you want to be successful, just be ready that there's going to be a lot of pain that you have to pass